Good evening. Welcome to a special edition of Call on the Shema with the one Perek Mishnayos. One Perek Mishnayos every day. I apologize. I was not feeling well this morning to record a shiur in the morning on the fast day. I was under the weather, shall we say. What are you gonna do? So, but I'm feeling much better now, and therefore I'm giving the shiur tonight, so we can still get our one Perek a day done and continue at our regular time tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Rich Hashem, Eastern time. Hope you had an easy fast today. It was very cold. But time to move on. Okay, today's shiur is sponsored Milei Nishmas, our Nachman and Simcha Kohen, so Mordechai ben Sheps, Bracha Sarah B'Shmolid, Moshe ben Yosef, and Ishtamas will have an Aliyah. And of course, Shlema for Ada Sarah Bas Leah, Chana Pesel Bas Yenta, Yisrael ben Rachaleah, Racha Bas Pesel Zelda, Amram Yitzchak ben Risha, and Chaya Bas Dubabela, before Shlema so Star Chol Yisrael. Okay. Perek Beis starts off talking about wells. He had a well that was located in a Rishus Harabim. Standard well was at least four, four tvachim wide by four tvachim long, and 10 tvachim deep is a private domain. Is just yachid. Therefore, it's the raisa to draw water from a regular well that is in a Rishus Harabim and put the water down next to the well, because then you're going from Rishus Harabim into Rishus Yachid. This is a difficulty. This Isser was very difficult for those that are being Ola Regel to the Beis Hamikdash on Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, because it meant that they could not draw water for the animals on Shabbos from the wells along the route. To solve this problem, the Chachamim allowed the Ola Regel to use a unique arrangement of minimal makeshift partitions to convert the area around the well into a private domain, so that they may take the water from the well on Shabbos. So this is how we're going to talk about how these wells are set up. It's fascinating that we're learning this. We're learning this morning on Cyber Tavis, but you're learning about like what to do to all the regal. What has the best Hamikdash. This is very fitting for Cyber Tavis. This is one of the Tanasim that we fast in commemoration of Chorban Beis Hamikdash. Okay, so Mishnah Aleph starts off Osin Pasin the Biros. We may use the following boards to serve as partitions around the wells. Arba Diyumadin near Mishmana. 4 double posts that look like 8 boards. Means that's 4 double posts that consist of 2 boards that are perpendicular to each other, therefore having an appearance of 8 boards. They said to be placed at a different corner of an imaginary square drawn around the well. These double posts are viewed as the beginnings of halakhic partitions that extend around the entire sides of the square, converting it to a private domain, since the well itself is also a Rishus Yachid. It is not permitted to draw water from the well and put it down within the outlined square. The Rabbi Yehuda is according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir Omer Rabbi says Shmona Nirim B'Shnei Masar Arba Diyumadim Arba Pshutim. We require 8 boards that look like 12. I mean, 4 double posts and 4 straight ones. Gavan Asar Tvachim, their height must be at least 10 Tvachim. Rachban Shisha, their width at least 6 Tvachim. The Avian Koshu, and their thickness can be any amount. Stay Ravkos al Shalosh Bakar. And between them, there are there may be a gap the size of two teams of three oxen each. A single team of three oxen is 5 amos wide, with each ox having a width of 1 and 2/3 amos, and two such teams are 10 amos wide. Therefore, 10 amos is the maximum gap allowed between double posts. If the gap is any wider, one or more straight boards must be placed between the double posts so that no gap exceeds 10 amos. Dear Rabbi Meir, this is according to Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, but Rabbi Yehuda says, Shal Arba, the gap between them may be as wide as two teams of four oxen each. A single team of four oxen is 6 and 2/3 amos, and two such teams are 13.5 amos wide. According to Yehuda, then a gap of 13.5 amos is mutter between double posts. Only if the gap is wider than 13.5 amos must straight posts be erected to narrow it. Okay, Kashuros Ulam Mutaros, the width of each team is measured when the oxen are tied so that there's less space between them and not when they are loose. Achas Nesses for Achas Yotzis. The combined width of both teams together is measured when one team is entering and one is exiting, which requires slightly more space than two teams moving in the same direction. Okay, that's a little complicated, Mishnah. I apologize. Let's move on. Mishnah Bays. Mutal Haku the Be'er. It is permitted to place the double posts close to the well, marking the enclosed area smaller. Provided that enough space remains for a cow to stand with its head and most of its body inside the area and drink. If the space is any smaller, at least half of the cow will be outside the closed area, which makes it more likely that a person taking water to the animal will transfer the water from the private domain into the adjacent Rishus Harabim. Motel Haki Koshuhu, it is permitted to distance the double post from the well by any amount, making the enclosed area as large as one wants. Provided that one adds enough boards between them so that no gap is wider than the maximum allowed. Mr. Gimel. Rabbi Yehuda says, Ad Beis Asayim is mutter to enlarge the area only until it reaches the size of two Beis, which is 50 by 100 amos. If the area is any larger, carrying within it is usher. Amrullah, the Chacham said to him, Allah Amr Beis Asayin, Ela the Gina Ula Karfif. They did not say that there's a maximum limit of two base saws except in regard to a garden or to a karfif, which are non-residential areas. What's a karfif? A karfif is a large fenced area outside a town used for such purposes as storing wood. Interesting. Aval im hayadir o sachar o muksa or chatzer. But if it was a pen, a sachar, a backyard, or a courtyard, which are considered residential because people use them frequently for everyday living activities, filu base kamisha kurin, filu base aseres kurin mutter. Even if the enclosed area is 5 base core, or even 10 base core, carrying within it is mutter. Therefore, it is mutter to place the post far from the well, making the enclosed area larger by any amount. Provided that one adds enough boards between them so that no gap exceeds the maximum allowed. Mishnah Daled. You can tell that I'm not feeling well. I'm just trying to get through this perek. Um, Hopefully tomorrow I'll be back on my feet. I will have a little more geschmack to share. Mr. Dalit. Rabbi Yehuda says, Im Haisader Harabim ma ma mafsakasan. If a if a public road cuts between the posts, the partitions formed by them are invalid, and carrying in the enclosed area is aser. Yisal let's start them. Therefore, one should divert the road to the sides of the enclosed area so that it does not disqualify the partitions. The Chachamim say, Ein Sarich, one does not need to divert the road because it does not render the partitions invalid. The Chachamim matter carrying an item in an area enclosed by minimal partitions of boards, only to allow the Oli Regal to draw water for their animals. For this reason, such partitions are valid only as long as the well that they enclose provides water. If the water dries up, the partitions cease to be valid, and carrying in the area becomes usher again. The Chachamim were concerned that in some cases the water might dry up, and yet the people will continue carrying that they're out of habit. To avoid this from happening, the Chachamim limited the use of these partitions. So here we go. This is Mishnah Dalit. Echad bor harabim, ube'er harabim, ube'er yachid osin lahem pasin. Whether the water source is a public water hole, a public well, or a private well, we may make these minimal partitions of boards to draw water from them. However, to draw water from a private water hole, we must make a regular partition that's 10 tvachim high. These minimal partitions do not suffice to enclose a private water hole because it has two deficiencies. Number a water hole is more likely to dry up than a well, and B, since it is a private hole which is used by only a few people, then if it does dry up, there will not be enough people present to remind one another not to carry. The Chachamim decreed, therefore, that to permit carrying around a private water hole, we must use regular closed partitions, which are valid even if the water dries up. Rabbi Akiva, this is according to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava says, "Ein osim pasin el leber harabim b'vad." We may not make minimal partitions of boards for any water source except the public well, which has two advantages. A well rarely dries up, and even if it does, the relatively large number of people present will remind one another not to carry. But for the other sources of water, private wells, public and private water holes, we must make a belt that is 10 tvachim high. It's a regular closed partition around the area. That's what it means by belt. Mishnah Hay. Hay and Vav. Two more to go. Vod. Vod Amar Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava. Additionally, Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava said, Hagina v'karpiv shehem shivim ama v'shirayim v'shivim ama v'shirayim. In the case of a garden or karfif that is 70 amas and a fraction by 70 amas and a fraction, meaning 70 and two-thirds amas per 72-third amas, a square, which is about 2 besa, mukefes gadar gavoa asar tvachim, and is surrounded by a fence 10 tvachim high, metalatadim besocha b'vad sheheba shomira shumira or beisdira or tehei smuchal. We may carry in it only if there is a watchman's booth or a dwelling inside it, or it is near the town, in which case it is used for residential purposes. According to this Tana, the size limit of 2 besa applies to a residential area. That is, carrying even in a fully enclosed residential area is prohibited if it measures more than 2 besa. As for an enclosed non-residential area, carrying in it is always forbidden, no matter how small it is. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Afilu ein ba ela bor v'siach u'ma'ara v'talat himself. Even if a garden or a carpet has in it only a pit, ditch, or vault in which rainwater is held for drinking, is considered residential and we may carry in it. Rabbi Akiva says, "Afilu ein ba achas mikol elu metalat himself." Even if it does not contain any of these things, unless it's not residential at all, we may carry it. Provided there's not more than 70 amas and a fraction by 70 amas and a fraction, meaning 70 and two-thirds amas squared. According to Rikiwa, it is a non-residential area, such as a garden or carfefu, that is subject to a size limit. Carrying in a residential area by contrast is permitted no matter how large it is, as we explained in Mishnah Gimel. Rebbe says, "Im haya arka yaster al rafa filu ama achas." If its length is more than its width by even one amma, ematal to the we may not carry in it. Carrying in a residential area or of this size is prohibited unless it is square. Rabbi Yossi says, "Afilu arka pishnayim v'rachba mitat l'besocha." Even if it's a rectangle with its length twice as long as its width, we may carry in it. Okay, the last Mishnah for today, Mishnah Vav. Amar Rabbi Eli says, "Shemati Rabbi Eliezer." I heard from Rabbi Eliezer that it's mutter to carry in an enclosed garden or carpet. Afilu he keves core. Even if it's as large as a base core, which is 30 base saw. Having mentioned the one ruling reported by Rabbi Eli in the name of Rabbi Eliezer, the Mishnah cites two more. The first concerns Eiruvin. If several houses open into a common courtyard, it is also on Shabbos to carry from the courtyard into any of the houses, or from any of the houses into the courtyard, unless the owners of all the houses join in an Eiruvin. All the homeowners must participate in the Eiruvin. If one of them fails to do so, it is not effective. However, this problem can be solved, but to some extent, if that person says, even on Shabbos, he gives up his right to use the courtyard, and then becomes permitted for anyone to carry in and out of all the other houses. Rabbi Eli states the name of Rabbi Eliezer how the house of that person should be treated. And I also heard from him, that if the members of a courtyard formed an Eruv, and one of them forgot to join the Eruv he abandoned his rights to the courtyard, it is still also to carry in and out of his house, but it is permitted for them to carry in and out of his house. The third ruling, reported by Eli in the name of Eliezer, and I also heard from him, we can fulfill the obligation to maror on Pesach with Akiravni. It's bitter vegetables whose leaves are shaped like scorpions, Akiravni. According to halacha, you cannot use this for maror. One who eats this on Pesach night is not Yotzi's mitzvah. Amara. When I went around to all of Eliezer students and searched for a colleague who I had also heard these three rulings, and I did not find anyone who had heard them. All right, that's the end of Perek Beis. We'll see you tomorrow morning, Mr. Shem, for Perek Gimel of Eiruvin. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us.